Hey, how you guys doing? So, what is the most important AI implementation in the world today? And what is the future of AI for the next 5 years? I'll cut to the chase. So, Apple's implementation of AI through Apple Intelligence is, I think, going to be the most significant and important AI implementation, period. I say that not because AI is fantastic. It's just because they are in a unique position, Apple is, to be able to integrate AI within their hardware. And since it's all within a playground that they control, they can do stuff with AI that nobody else can do. Now, is this AI implementation going to change your life? No, it's just going to be a nice addition to what it is they provide. It's kind of like having a new button or something. Not much more than that. You see, the AI hype has gone out of control, out of control. I look at the current AI hype, which is starting to die out a little bit, kind of like NFTs. Not as bad as NFTs, but NFT-ish, not Bitcoin, crypto-ish. Look at crypto. I remember when crypto came out, people were out there, it's going to change the world. Oh my God, that's it. And what do we have now? We just have Bitcoin. And it's more or less a gambling casino. It's just a place for people to hold money, and it's going up because it's one of those, crypto in general is one of those commodities, for lack of better terms, one of those products, if we're going to call it that will keep going up as long as people think it's going to go up. It's not actually doing anything practical right now. Right? I like to know what today, what crypto is actually doing in any significant manner, right? It's not doing anything. I'm not against crypto per se. I just don't think it's the promise that people had touted about it. None of it came to pass. We're going to transact in Bitcoin because it's so much cheaper. Nope. Okay, now Bitcoin's a store of value. Okay. AI is a similar thing. And when it first came out, whatever, last year or so, I was out there saying it's not going to have a huge impact. It's going to be horizontal, marginal in its application, but not deep vertical. What do I mean by that? I think it's going to help with certain things. It will improve certain things in a marginal way. I'm about to use the same word, in a marginal way. Meaning it's not going to replace developers, but it's just going to make some of their work, not all, some of their work a little bit better. And I was able to look at AI from two perspectives. 30 years of experience as being a developer. So I've seen all the technology trends over the last 30 years, been involved in them in a way. Well, not in a way, but involved in them. And B, with the experienced eye of a crusty old entrepreneur. I'm not claiming that I'm a billionaire or anything. No, it's just, but I've had several small businesses that have been successful, have made money. Some of my products went nowhere. Some did okay. And so I've been a lifestylepreneur, one of the original lifestylepreneurs back in the day. So anyway, point is I've seen technology in business evolve over the last 3 decades. I've seen the trends. I saw ChatGPT. I saw AI for what it is. It is a marginally interesting product, meaning it will have marginal peripheral impact, meaning it will help you out on the margins. It will help you out a little bit here, a little bit there. For example, in the coding space, you're not building apps with an AI. Anybody who told you, any influencer, anybody who said, oh, that's it for development, it's over, they obviously know nothing. They don't know anything about development. Anybody who told you that, I'm pretty sure they've hardly ever written commercial code, if ever. Like, I don't know for sure. I don't know everybody out there, but I'm almost can guarantee you, because anybody who's actually built real products, commercial products, not done tutorials from YouTube, and then decides they're going to be experts in development because they've done 2 tutorials. No, I've done it for real. I can tell you, AI will not replace coders for the foreseeable future. I don't know, 20 years, 30 years from now. That's just a rough guess, if it ever happens. Remember, when technologies come out, there's a typical trend. They come out, and the successful ones, like iPhone, when they come out, people go, oh my God, wow, look what this thing can do. Wow. And then what happens, you don't see huge improvements for a long, long time. For a long time. Look at iPhone 1. Flat screen, touch screen. It shot video, played music, it surfed the internet. What has changed? Well, the screens are better. The internet speeds are better. It can now play high-def music. It can play HD and 4K video. But that's pretty much it. It's incrementally better, since 2007. So it's not like this wild evolution. It's just been incrementally better, a little bit better, a little bit every year. But it's pretty much like the iPhone 1 is just a wimpier version of the iPhone 16 that is coming out. It's not a huge innovation. The only innovation, they had the touch center, touch ID, then you can scan your eyes, you get the eye ID, I don't know what they call it, I forget now. It's not a big deal. Same thing with laptops, right? I remember laptops in the 1990s. They were thicker, chunkier, somewhat less capability, but the difference between today's best laptops and the previous laptops are just a little they're faster, they can do a lot more, but they're not like they're not game changing, right? They're not game changing. The last major shift in laptop tech is when they started putting in SSD drives, solid state drives. They were much faster, so they can run. The battery power will be able to run much longer since you don't have a moving hard drive. But really, it's not been a huge thing, right? It's been incremental improvements. That's it. So when ChatGPT came out and everybody started having kittens, I was wondering. I don't know how many. I don't scour the web, but I was out there saying it's not going to be like. No, it's going to help. It's going to be marginally better, but I don't think it's going to get much better. I looked at it a little bit, and then after saying this, a few months later, Altman, the guy who runs ChatGPT, OpenAI, he spilled the beans. He spilled the beans about AI. He said we're not going to have major improvement in AI for a while now. Just like every other technology comes out, oh my God, GPT, look, I could actually do stuff besides the hallucinations and all the problems. But at the end of the day, it's marginal. AI will help developers be 10% to maybe 15, 20% more productive. AI will help education to be 10%, maybe 20% more productive, so on and so forth. These things will have a marginal but broad impact. That's why you see a lot of hype in the AI space, because it will touch on many different industries, but again, on the margins, not deep, only marginal, only surface improvements, 10%, 20% maybe. That's it. But that's normal for tech. Tech comes out, you got that initial development cycle where you see a lot of change when people figure out what it is you have to do. And then it kind of settles down. Same thing with development, by the way. Development hasn't changed much since, I say, 2012, 2015, maybe that long. That's it. And the last big change in development, and if you're going to say that, it's not so big, is when Steve Jobs, speaking of Apple, when Steve Jobs essentially killed Flash. Flash in ActionScript was a technology to develop rich client interfaces for the web. And because Flash was such a security threat, and because Flash was slow ass, was very resource intensive, and because Steve Jobs wanted to take a shot at Adobe, he basically killed Flash by saying you can't run Flash apps, can't run Flash on iPhones. And then eventually that was it. That was the end, because iPhone is so dominant. So that was it. He killed Flash, and so that spurred the adoption of HTML5 based applications as what we see nowadays. And that's pretty much it as an example. So I wrote this book several years ago. I wrote this book in 2015, and it's about the basics of the web, HTML5, CSS3, some JavaScript, and some other principles and concepts, on programming and so forth. It's meant for a total beginner. It's still available on Amazon, by the way. I don't make any money on this, right? I got my upfront, and that's it. It's not bad. Anyhow, I wrote this book intending for it to be evergreen, meaning I kept away from the marginal, hyped up tech solutions of the time, and I just stuck to the foundations because I knew then, as I'm telling you now, foundations don't change. They're the foundations. Maybe once every 50 years you may see a big shift or something, but anyhow, so we're 10 years later, almost. This book, everything I teach in here, everything is still relevant. There are two things I would add to this book, and I would emphasize a couple of things here and de-emphasize a couple of things there, but nothing in here is like out of date. Everything I teach in here is still widely used in the market, which is amazingly insane if you think about it. So yeah, web technology, software development in general has not changed much in the last 10 years or so. Even longer, you could argue. The only thing that has changed in development over the last 10 years is slightly, a little on the server models, you got this cloud-based stuff going on. And even that is marginal in the sense that only certain types of websites should be using AWS or something like that, or Azure. Traditional hosting, which has been around since, the 90s, is still very relevant for most websites, still fine. And DevOps went crazy. I think it's calming down a little bit. When I say it got crazy, it got overly complex. You would look at the tech stacks these nerdlings on YouTube would say you have to know. It was like insane. And now people have realized, wait a second, it's so stupid. Like, a developer shouldn't have to be a Linux specialist. A developer shouldn't need to be able to provision servers and do all this kind of crap. It's ridiculous. So I have a SaaS. See, I'm one of the few YouTuber coders who actually has a commercial product on the market, which is interesting, right? Anyhow, so I have a SaaS, Studio Web. Go to studioweb.com. It's a training platform for schools. And I also use it in my own mentoring program because it automates the teaching process. It provides huge advancements in teaching, and it basically speeds up the speeding process, huge. And so its innovation, if you're going to call it that, is just a bunch of incremental improvements in the learning process based on my understanding of education and learning. I didn't invent the whole thing out of my brain. We worked with lots of schools and teachers. I flew into classrooms to check out. And it was just applying current technology, but strategically well applicated. I went in, talked to teachers. What do you need? What's going on here? And they said, okay, we need this, we need that. Okay. So I took existing technologies and just refined it. It's like putting together a song, right? The scale, the music scales, A, B, C, D, and chord progression and changes and all this. If you know anything about music, you have a vague idea what I'm talking about. But music is music, right? But what makes a hit song is putting together the right combination of notes at the right tempo and having the right changes and having the right sound that appeals to people. Same thing with my software, and any software. It's using existing technology that's been around for the longest time and just putting together in the right way, having the right formula so it works for people. Anyway, so my Studio Web product is web tech. We're using PHP and PHP Laravel. We're using PHP Laravel, MVC based, a little bit of Vue. But what really makes it work is how we lay it all out, how we implement existing technologies properly. Anyway, back to AI. I think Apple is the only one who actually have, I shouldn't say the only one, but I think it's going to be the most significant AI play out there. And not because of AI necessarily, not really. It's because of the fact that they own the platform and they can integrate AI in the 3 levels that they're doing in a seamless way. And it will have a marginal impact in terms of what you do. It would just be a little bit nicer. It will make using Apple software a little bit better. Apple has the advantage is that they want to sell hardware. They want to sell their phones. They want to sell their computers and so on, their watches. So because they control that infrastructure, they can add the AI, and the AI will provide that nice marginal slight improvement of things, but because of its context, it's useful, right? Yeah, that's why I mentioned Studio Web. Studio Web, my learning SaaS is software as a service, my learning tool, teachers in schools love it because using existing technologies that's been around for years and years now, I was able to put together a nice combination that improved the teachers' lives a little bit here by 5%, improved the students' learning capacity here by 5% here, and a little 5% there, and 10% here, and 2% there, and 5% there. It adds up, right? So all these little incremental improvements that we implemented by listening to the clients and say, hey, client, what do you need? Mm-hmm. We even studied the data of the student activity on the platform. So if you've used my Studio Web platform, you've seen just a very 5% of it. The front end, you see how you interact with the content and the videos and the quizzing and the helping and the tracking and the monitoring. You've seen, but you only see maybe 5% of it. The nuts and bolts of the software is in the back end. And the back end does all kinds of stuff that schools want, teachers want. It makes their lives easier. Where AI extracts, is able to write boilerplate code for you, right? It just saves you time on the drudgery, right? Instead of having to dig that hole or to dig that ditch with a shovel, you now get a tractor that scrapes away, it's so much easier. So it's the same thing. So much in the way that AI helps with on the margins, Studio Web does that as well. So what we did, besides going into schools and watching students and teachers work with the product, asking a lot of questions, we actually studied the data. We're tracking all kinds of different things. And so we studied the data, and we figured out where the students were having troubles, because we know how long students spend on each questions, how many right and wrong answers they get. We know all kinds of stuff. So by studying all that data, okay, now we understand where the course material, where the curriculum was lacking, and we fixed it. So that's why it's so effective. So again, it's all marginal. So to conclude, AI is in a hype cycle. I believe that only Apple is going to have an impactful implementation of AI, a super impactful implementation. I think they're going to be the best in the game, not because their AI is better, but just because they've integrated it all over their platform, assuming their demos are accurate, by the way, assuming those are accurate. And that's about it. So anybody who told you AI is going to destroy the world and destroy coders, don't listen to them anymore. They clearly, in my opinion, they probably never worked in industry. There's too many fakes out there. I'm Uncle Steph. I mentor people in the ways of coding, mostly web stack, but it's universal. I have a mentoring program, and the big value of that is you get to interact with me, somebody who's been doing this for 3 decades, but not only as a professional coder, but also I understand the business end of things because I bring products to market. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.